Good evening. Hello. I am Dr. Michelle Simone Rencher. I am a researcher, I'm a talk connoisseur, and I'm also a technology change agent. And tonight, I am a special guest host of the Doc Chat. So if you've tuned into the Doc Chat because you are thinking about doctoral studies, you've come to the right place. If you've tuned in because you are currently in the throes of editing and writing and editing some more, you've come to the right place because we're going to give you some insight. If you are here because you have completed, the tassel was worth the hassle and you have completed your doctoral journey, and you're here because you are supporting the ladies who are with me this evening, you've come to the right place. And if you are a family member, a friend, or you're just curious, you have come to the right place because the Doc Chat is where we come to talk all things doctoral studies. And now that I've given you a little insight as to what you can expect this evening, I want to go ahead and let you know that beyond being brilliant, beyond being amazing, beyond being just present for every conversation, I have with me a group of ladies who began the journey in doctoral studies, and they stay together not only as a cohort, but as a group, a collective. And with me this evening, they're going to tell you all about their journeys, why they've done this thing, and how amazing it is that they are still together. And they're going to prove how amazing the journey can be for each of you. So, with me this evening, I've got Dr. Veroniqua Delva. If you would let us know exactly who you are, where you're from, and what's so special about this group of ladies.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Veroniqua Delva, and I am from New York, originally from Westbury, New York, in Long Island. And I'm so happy to be with everyone here this evening, especially my lovely doctoral sisters who has been with me on this journey, and I could not have achieved this milestone without them.
Thank you so much. And next up, Dr. Natalie Zadok.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I've been here ever since. Haven't been able to get out of Brooklyn, but that's okay. And I'm happy to be here also with these lovely ladies that really are sisters, family, just everything.
Awesome. And next up, we've got Dr. Lervan Atticot.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am hailing from Baldwin, New York. However, I am from the beautiful island of St. Lucia. And these lovely ladies have been my rock. There is absolutely no way I would have continued this journey without them.
Right next up, we've got Dr. Meaghan Gribbins.
Hi, good evening. I am born and raised Suffolk County, New York, and I currently live in Nassau County, Long Island, New York. And I too could not have been here calling myself Dr. Gribbins without any one of these. They have all played a crucial part in me finishing my doctoral degree, as well as continuing just day-to-day life, even currently. So I appreciate them always and love to show up for each other every day.
We're happy that you're here, Dr. Gribbins, and bringing up the rear by no means least, not even last at all, Dr. Jasmine Shepherd.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Jasmine G. Shepherd. I was born and raised in Brooklyn from Haitian parents, so I am Haitian American. And this journey has been just a wonderful journey, not doing it on my own. I was so blessed to be able to do it with my fellow doctoral sisters who have made it possible. They've been there from the start to the end, and I'm happy to now call them my actual sisters.
Amazing, amazing. And once again, we've got a group of women who not only completed doctoral studies, but they have found a way to demonstrate how important it is to be friends, how important it is to have a sisterhood, even through doctoral studies. Ladies, thank you for demonstrating that to the world. But I want to dive a little bit deeper into your individual stories because everybody is seeing for the first time that you guys are wearing amazing t-shirts that all match. And I got to say, apart from just saying, I wish I were one of you guys, but in a weird kind of way, I kind of am, right? Because we've all recognized how important it is to have that tassel that cannot be moved. And so, ladies, if we want to go ahead and understand not only how important it is to study, how important it is to be a collective, but I need you to let me know what has fueled your study? You each mentioned in your own way how being together, how being a part of a collective fueled and gave you some support. But Dr. Natalie Zadok, if you would, can you let us know how was your start, your program or your journey even began, and how was it made possible?
Okay, so we kind of got involved in this during, I want to say, towards the end of COVID, if I don't recall. So, I was just home. I had finished St. Rose with Dr. Jasmine Shepherd a little after her. And I said, I just got used to being in school and something was missing. Like, I was at work doing my program and doing my work, but I got into that mindset of just being a student. And I really felt like it was missing. And I wanted to have that kind of positive distraction, even though, we have our regular distractions with family and kids, but I wanted to have something else that would keep me fulfilling. And I really wanted to have that degree. So I just one day got an email from Concordia University, which was a sister college to St. Rose. And it seemed like it was, didn't seem like it was a very difficult process to, just get started. And I said, oh, I'm going to do this. And Dr. Jasmine Shepherd and I were colleagues at the time. And she called me and she said, what are you up to? And I said, this is what I'm up to. And she says, I'll be there on Monday. And she was there. So we kind of jumped into this together, which is, it's a very unusual thing to jump into. I don't want to say that it was done on impulse, but it kind of was, because I didn't do all the research of which college I want to go to, what do I want to study, how much is it going to be. It was the mindset that I was in at that time with everything that was going on in the world. And I said, whatever it is, I just want to do this. I want to try it. So that's kind of how I jumped in.
That is so interesting. And so you mentioned Jasmine Shepherd. Dr. Shepherd, if you would chime in, let us know exactly what was your journey. Now, you just jumped into the conversation before you even jumped into the conversation. So if you would let us know exactly what was your journey like? How did you start? What made you say yes?
Yeah, sure. So as Dr. Zadok said, we were colleagues, and I had shared with her that I was interested in doing my doctoral studies, but I didn't want to do it now. At the time, I had just had my second son, and COVID was taking place, and being a leader in the state of where we were in terms of COVID, there was just so many things to juggle, and I needed a place to release. And I noticed with myself, anytime that I was under stress or I needed just some sort of outlet to release, I would enroll back into school. So it just so happened that week I reached out to Natalie and I asked her, I said, what are you up to? What are you doing? And she said, I just got into this doctoral program at Concordia. You should go and enroll. So she sent me the information and I had one day to enroll. So I said, well, I'll do it, but I don't think that I'm going to get in. Literally one day to get transcripts in order and all of my documentation. So I did it just to, not for fun, but just to see if it would actually work and get through. And with my luck, I actually was accepted into the program conditionally because my paperwork hadn't been all the way in. So I received the letter that I would be able to enroll, and within 3 months, I would have to ensure that I had all of my documentation in, and that I wouldn't be able to get grades if I wasn't fully enrolled. So I reached out to Natalie. I said, could you believe this? I just signed up and they already enrolled me, and now I'm starting on Monday. So I literally had 2 days to shift my mindset around to being a student again with 2 toddlers and just navigating being an administrator during COVID. So I took the leap of faith. I had really great support system. My in-laws have been phenomenal throughout the entire journey. And when I told them, look what I just did, I signed up to be in this program. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try it. They prayed over me and they told me, you got this, you can do it. Go ahead and do it. And I did just that. And because of my doctoral sisters and my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my husband, my sister-in-law, and my kids, I was able to finish the complete journey of my doctoral studies.
Excellent. And so what I thought was interesting there was that you spoke initially about the university accepting you and giving you the overall turnaround time in order to get all your documentation in. That is amazing that a university would not only be so flexible and to be able to allow you to enroll in such a timeline. And of course, it was COVID-19, so a lot of things happening in the world. So that's an amazing thing. Now, Dr. Delva, you have been on this conversation before. Can you let us know what your journey has been like? And also, what is the university experience like? Because we all have heard different stories about the academic journey, the why, the reason you enrolled, and the support you gained. But can you also let us know a little bit about the university itself?
So similarly to what Dr. Zadok said, when I actually first started the program, it was after a conversation with my book club members, because I originally enrolled. I had applied for a doctoral program at another school and I didn't get in. I was very distraught by it, and I felt like there was a reason I didn't. I never tried. And we had a book club conversation during the pandemic one night, and I was telling the girls, I was like, I want to get my doctorate. I want to get my doctorate degree, but I was not accepted into one, and it's been very disappointing. It's something that I don't know if I'm going to go back and do. And one of the girls was like, do it, try again. That night, I applied for the doctorate program, and it was the push by her and her, pouring into me that night that fueled me to get into the program. However, being during the pandemic, I just thought, like, we're in a pandemic. I have so much time at home. This is such a great opportunity to go into a doctoral program, not realizing outside was going to open again and we're back to the real world. So that was a huge adjustment for me, because once we got back, I started my first year as a leader. I was out of the classroom. So I was adjusting to leadership. And then I was also adjusting now going back after the pandemic and then being in a doctoral program. One thing that I did like about Concordia University is this attachment to faith, and the fact that it was a Christian based, everything was based around Christianity. And throughout the program, the courses that allowed me to reflect on my faith is what continued to push me to go forward. So being able to discuss what exactly is servant leadership, and learning about, different people throughout history, and how we read the story of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and being able to tie it back to leadership, but also tying it back to faith is what I really appreciated about the program. And I didn't know that going in. So I also think that was God knowing that, like, hey, I'm putting you in this, but I'm providing you a sense of support that's going to fuel you throughout the process. And I think having that faith-based foundation throughout the program is what really supported me. And I really appreciated that.
Excellent. And so, similarly, I was not even aware until you just said that Concordia University has a faith-based program. Similarly, I went to another program also at Columbia International University that was also faith-based, and I do understand how important it is to not only be able to hold on to one's faith, but actually have your faith at the forefront of your academic journey, because it does allow you to not only build your faith, build your academic competence, but it also builds your confidence. And in your case, in each of you's cases, it helps you to recognize the importance of friendship. So, Dr. Gribbins, I saw you nodding your head there. If you let me know, what was your journey like? What did you get out of Concordia University that perhaps somebody who is watching us right now needs to know and should take from this conversation?
Yes. So a lot of similar things. I will have to say, I was prepared to say that my fuel was caffeine. And it's interesting because we spent a lot of time in a cafe with a lot of caffeine. And that's some of the best times and the most crucial times of the program were spent in a cafe. So it is a major part of what fueled me, and not just the actual coffee, but just being with these ladies. But my journey, I mean, coming into the program, I think I knew I wanted my doctorate, but I wasn't really sure in what I would want to do it in. And then similarly, getting emails through the site program, finishing that program maybe 3 years prior. It came across my email. I had just finished a mental toughness program where I was working on myself and my personal growth. And at that time, I thought I was ready for my next challenge and that I'd be able to handle it. And I think we started in February of 2021. And by that spring, I found out I was expecting my second child and was not part of the doctoral plan. But it was because of these ladies, again, that made that possible. But I was not expecting to be a expecting mom, starting a doctoral program, but then becoming a mom of two boys and finishing a doctoral program on time. There was a lot of questions back and forth. Thank you. There was a lot of questions throughout that process. Maybe I should pause. Maybe I should not continue at that time. But again, seeing other moms succeeding. And I will say to Dr. Delva's point, starting in COVID, it was like, okay, we'll be home. I can do this on my computer. We were our first where we kind of saw each other for the first time, our internship. It's failing me right now, but that week-long time, it was remote that first week. So I was like, okay, I can do this at home. I have my son upstairs. I have a strong support system. He's good. And then the world reopened. And so thankful for cafes, because that's the only way I would have gotten this done with children and a full-time career and everything else, was having that time in a cafe to not only bond, but rely on each other to get the work done. So that was kind of, I think, my journey. There was definitely a lot of things happening, but I will say the faith part, I also was not fully aware of how much I would need my faith through the program, especially with the things that happened with my son throughout the program, having another child. And I relied heavily on exploring my faith. And I continue to explore my faith. And that was a crucial time. A lot of those courses that were around faith opened up doors for me, supported me in not just my doctoral life, but also my mom life, my personal life, and it continues. So that was a blessing in disguise that I didn't know was going to happen. But again, another part that was crucial to my success in the program.
Amazing. And again, faith and fellowship and learning about sisterhood, building friendships that I believe probably will last a lifetime and then some, and all because of Concordia University. We do have Dr. Atticot, who is waiting in the wings to let us know what her journey has been like at Concordia University. If you would let us know, how was your journey motivated and what did these ladies bring to your journey?
So I echo everyone's sentiments regarding just growing spiritually, having that strong foundation. I do put God first in every single thing that I do as a Christian. So having that background at Concordia, truly helped me get through the program. So in terms of my journey was a little unique in the sense that a couple years ago, I did drop out of medical school and I felt very, very incomplete. I felt unaccomplished. I struggled a lot with that. I wrestled a lot with that. So I knew that I wanted to pursue a terminal degree, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do yet. So like everyone else, I received that email from site. I'm like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity. So another doctoral sister and I decided that we're going to make a pact and apply together. And we both applied, we got in, and that was it. And I met these lovely ladies at the very beginning of our journey. I can't even remember how we ended up in the same group. All I can say that was ordained by God. I think Dr. Gribbins mentioned my earrings because I love earrings, and we just connected on that level. But one thing that I did appreciate about Concordia, the accessibility of our professors. They definitely went above and beyond to make sure that we were successful. And that's pretty much what my journey entailed. It was an opportunity for me to pivot and truly focus on not those things that I did not accomplish, but my future and where I was going, the foundation that I needed to lay to get to the next steps in my life or the next stages in my life.
Well, Dr. Atticot, I'm going to leave it there with you for a second because you said something that made me think. So just now you talked about pivoting. You had the medical school experience and you pivoted. You spoke to somebody and then you pivoted and you found a sisterhood in the earrings and yet you pivoted. I wonder, can you guys tell me what has the academic journey caused you to see differently about yourself? Did you see anything different? Did you learn something about yourself? What did you see and learn that could possibly, enlighten somebody who was thinking about doctoral studies or somebody who is currently in the program? What should they be focusing on, listening and learning about themselves based on what you guys had experienced your own selves? So Dr. Atticot, let's stick with this. Let's go ahead and start with you.
I think for me, one thing that I learned about myself, I didn't realize how strong I was. And I come from a line of very strong women. My mom is listening right now. I come from a line of very strong women. And there were times when I just felt like giving up. And thankfully I had those ladies who truly, pushed me. They're like, no, you need to get up. We have to get to Sugarberry at 8:00. No, you need to get up. But I didn't realize how intrinsically motivated I was. And I also realized that as much as this was a sacrifice, one area where I struggled, I kept trying to pour from an empty cup. And as women, we tend to do that. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm an assistant principal, I'm juggling so many different things. So I'm constantly trying to pour from an empty cup. So this doctoral program really forced me to slow down and begin practicing self-care. I do have a long way to go. I still struggle with that. But it truly taught me so many things about myself, things that I had not realized before. But it's been a very rewarding journey. And one of the things that I would like to share with everyone is don't view those obstacles or those hindrances. Try to view them from a more positive lens. See them as stepping stones to get to the next destination. It's all about perspective and how we view things. It's all about, like the saying goes, well, are we seeing the cup half full? Are we seeing it half empty? So the minute that you shift your lens, it does make the process a lot more seamless.
Thank you for that. Next up, Dr. Zadok, if you would let us know the same thing. Let somebody out there in the world know what you learned most about yourself and what they should be considering or even imagining that they will too gain from a doctoral degree.
Yeah, thank you. I think I've learned to become very, very patient, because I'm a bit of a hyper ADHD type of person, and I want things done quick, and I get an assignment and I want to finish it and get it in. And this was a very difficult process for me with regard to that because it never ended. It's one paper that you're doing on and on and on again and editing, and it's the same thing. And I was always a good student in my younger years. I always liked school, but I struggled a bit. And I was a high school dropout and wound up getting my GED when I was 17 at the time, when I was eligible to do that, just for different circumstances in my life. And this was a very, very big journey for me, and to see that I could accomplish it. So it was really like a self-test to see what I could put myself through and kind of make up for the gaps of things that I didn't do in my younger years. I didn't go through the traditional process of my peers. I took a different route. And to do this later in life, I have 3 children of my own, teenagers of my own, one who's special needs and one who's a cancer survivor. So life wasn't so easy, but it was really like a very good test of patience. And of course, couldn't have done it without these lovely ladies. And there have been many times where I wrote in the chat, I'm done with this. I'm not doing it. I'm done. I'm tired. I just really felt very, 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 I've never felt as frustrated in my life. And I've been through some pretty difficult things. This was very frustrating, to me, because like I said, I didn't feel like I was getting to an end. It just felt relentless. So my advice to people that are in this program is that it will come to an end. If you do find your supports and you just stick with it and don't question your own ability, because I think we all get to a point when we're writing and it's like, am I really meant for this? Do I really understand what's going on? And then you just have to go back to your mission and your vision of what you're writing about and what it means to you, your purpose of it. And I think that really fuels you and gets you back. I just tried to keep, every time I got frustrated, I kept saying to myself, why am I doing this? And how can I keep on it? Because, I want to be able to make improvements for students, in what I'm studying. So I think that's a good thing to keep in mind. But it's definitely a difficult thing to get through. I'm sorry, my dog.
But it's good to know that your family is still supporting, even if they have four legs, right?
I'm sorry. Yes, and the
That's
lady said
not a problem because you know what it demonstrates to us that life still happens, right? Even in doctoral studies, life continues. It
yeah, that
seems as if
continues.
when we are writing and editing and editing and editing those endless assignments, that the journey is still happening someplace else.
Yep.
Now, I have to connect Dr. Shepherd because you and Dr. Zadok began so close. I got to reach right back to you and ask you the same question. There is somebody who is watching us right now. We don't know if they are considering, if they are currently in the throes of, perhaps they are supporting and they're saying, "You go, ladies. Congratulations. We are here for the tassel conversation." Dr. Jasmine Shepherd, let us know exactly what did you learn? Not just the academic stuff, but what did you learn about yourself? What did this program teach you? And what can you give somebody else as a listening opportunity? What can they listen out for as they also pursue this tassel?
Yes, pursuing this tassel was definitely a challenge. For me, I learned so much about myself. Oftentimes, I would start projects and not end projects. At one point, I went to a Ian Van Zant event where it was all about finishing what you start, because I really wanted to get to, like, why is it that I can always start things? Like, I can start the process with getting my LLC to open up a daycare, but I did not open up the daycare. I started writing my book, but then I stopped writing. So I was battling with, okay, I'm going to do this doctoral program, but I bet you I'm not going to finish. And along the way, I hit a lot of hardships, whether it was grieving from friendships, from family matters, and even with work, shifting from one working environment to a next working environment. I feel like I experienced a lot of loss, a lot of sadness. Um, and I thought, okay, all these things are going to prove why I'm not going to finish this program, because there's so many things that I'm juggling and I'm trying to hold on to. And these are the reasons why I'm not going to finish this program. But when you have accountability partners, such as, my doctoral sisters that send the text messages late at night, like, get up, start writing. On Saturdays, we're at the library or at the cafe. When you have a village that is there to truly support you, they help you block out all of the naysayers, all the people that said, you have two small kids, why are you doing this program? You are a leader in a new neighborhood, like, you need to focus on that. Like, all of the noise that I was listening to, I was able to block all of that out because I surrounded myself with people who were aligned with where I wanted to go. And they held me accountable. Even when I took my 2-month break, I said, I can't, this program is driving me crazy. My household is out of control. And my mental state is just not the best that it could be. So I took the 2-month break to get myself together. And I think that's also very important too, is recognizing when you need a break and taking the break. And although I had my timeline set and I didn't make it on the exact time that I wanted to, I took my time to give myself what I needed throughout that time. And I had a really good supportive system. So my advice to future folks who are doing a doctoral program is to know that it's not an easy program. It's not an easy journey, but it is a journey that is well worth it every step of the way. And you'll be able to get to the end if you have folks around you who are truly there to support you and push you through to the finish line.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Because oftentimes people think of doctoral completion and they think of obviously the end of the journey. It's the end of the road. It's the tassel is worth the hassle. But I like that you were very transparent, that you gave us a little bit of insight that you needed a break. Sometimes before you break or break down, you need to have a break in the conversation to make certain that you are going to be successful and that you are going to be a whole person when you're finished, as opposed to having other challenges. Dr. Gribbins, I see you nodding your head. I know you want to chime into the conversation and let people know what they need to listen out for based upon what you learned of yourself.
Yes, I think similar to a lot of things that have been said, but when I think of like one thing, I think it was my perseverance. As much as I knew that, again, tapping into that raised by strong women, knowing that I could be strong. I didn't know what life was going to hand me, and nor will we ever know. And to know that I could push through at such a difficult time was important. For me, also the part that self-care, I know a lot of us have tapped into that self-care. And it was so important for me to, and I still continue to think about my mental mindset and what I'm thinking and how I'm going through life, and continuing to practice self-care. If it's journaling, walking, I send videos now, I think, to all of us, of me walking at 4:30, 5 a.m., just to kind of share that motivation. And that goes to that idea of pouring into each other. And I think that we, through this program, would continually pour into each other, whether it was, again, those wake up calls, or setting each other's timers for 10-minute naps and then waking each other up. So we definitely poured into each other in more ways than just the affirmative, like just telling each other all the great things that we needed to hear. But even at our lowest times, for me personally, having my son suffered an injury, unfortunately, during the process, my newborn, and it was a very hard time. And at that time, I was done. I was done. I didn't want to do it. I didn't even know how I would come out of that. But it is only because I had, logistically, only because I had these women here, that I could get through that course. We had a group project at that time, and I couldn't even handle my part. And they really held me down. And if I didn't have that, I would not have finished. So it goes into knowing who your supports are, knowing when to lean into them, and knowing when to accept that help from them. And even if it was, no, I'm not going to do it, they would do it for me. You know, they had my back 110%. And I know to this day they still do. And that's the biggest thing. And I persevered because of them. So it wasn't me. It's never just me alone. It's always the community that surrounds you. And from this, I learned how, I continue to be reminded how important my communities are, and how important, when you don't have the ability to give yourself self-care, lean into your communities and allow them to pour into you. And I think that this journey really continues to show me how important it is for us to support each other, pour into each other, especially at a time right now where we know mental health, is an issue. Many people are dealing with things. I continue to have my struggles of just being a mom, of juggling things, and to be able to just, whether it's, again, compliment each other, get together, laugh together, find earrings together, or whatever it may be, to have a community, to just bring out all the smiles that you see here, has been crucial, and such an amazing journey. And I would not have changed any of my, any of the paths that we decided to take. I'm so grateful for them.
Thank you so very much. I can notice, I mean, if you notice from the comments, the community of people who are watching, such a wide persons from all over the world are watching us right now, because they recognize that it's how unusual, but yet how special it is to find a group of women who come from different spaces and from different reasons, who have entered doctoral studies. And not only did you guys enroll, you all enrolled in Concordia, in the university, but not only did you enroll, you completed. And that in itself is a feat. That is a tremendous feat. And I think it is amazing that you guys are not only donning the matching t-shirts and the cute earrings and the other accessories, but that you are here for the conversation. Dr. Delva, why don't you wrap up this segment of our conversation, just to let somebody on this conversation know, somebody who is watching us, who wants to know, how is it possible to learn something other than theory, other than research design, other than how to do APA 17, other than citations? How does one learn anything other than those things in a doctoral study? And even more, how does that impact their life? How did this journey impact your life? What did you learn about yourself, Dr. Delva?
I think I had an idea based on my journey being a teen mom, and living life so early, that I kind of knew I was resilient, but I truly realized how resilient I was through this program. I suffered a lot of silent battles, and the being able to get through them while being all the things: a mom, a friend, a daughter, a school leader, it can be really, really difficult. And sometimes it gets very lonely because unless you're in the program, it's really difficult to understand what you're going through. Oh, you're just in school, it'll be okay. Like, no one truly understands how difficult this journey is and how much it requires of you, brain time, mental capacity, physical. It takes a lot on you. And when I was beginning the program, I had also just started a business and I'm learning to be an entrepreneur, but now I'm also juggling leadership and I'm juggling a doctoral program. And it takes a village. It truly, truly takes a village to be able to do this. I'm super appreciative. And I had a cohort model during my school building leadership and my school district leadership program. So I knew the impacts of a cohort model, but I truly felt it during the doctoral program. Like, these are your people. This is who's going to help you. These are the people who's going to understand. And I truly, the one day I realized how amazing this sisterhood was. I was going through some relationship issues and I was at work and I didn't tell anyone the details of it. And I just remember being at work crying and I had a meeting coming up and I was like, you know what? I'm going to act like it was my allergies. I put on my mask. We're still in COVID. And I opened up my WhatsApp chat and I was getting so much thoughtful messages from my fellow sisters here. We're praying for you. It's going to be okay. And I never shared the details at that time. And in that moment, like, I cried more because I realized how much these ladies who I met in 2021, but how much of an impact they had on my life and on my mental, and how I knew just, hey, it's not a good day. I'm going through these things at work, and being able to have such supportive women around while you're going through this program, it's so necessary. I could not have done this alone. And for anyone who's going through the program, I would really, really advise them to tap into your peers, tap into your cohort members, because it gets really lonely. And the folks on the outside, they truly don't understand how much it takes. Our family members, and you know, my family was supportive, my friends were supportive, but they're not understanding that when you have an assignment due at 11:59, it's not just a one-page paper. We have statistics. We have to do the interview. We have research. We have to read. We have to comment. And your comments are not two-sentence comments. You need to comment on a peer and cite the comments. So it requires so much. But tap into your folks, and it truly takes a village, and that is my go-to quote. But I truly understood the importance of a village within my doctoral program.
Amazing. So I've heard so much. It's taking a village, that you learned resilience and obviously resourcefulness. You guys learned the importance of community. You learned the importance of being transparent. You shared family and physical and mental health challenges. And yet you got all the way to the finish line. You had group assignments and everybody was not able to carry their full weight, but yet you knew that in the next assignment, we got you. I've heard a lot about that. Now, ladies, I wonder, I don't know if the audience has picked up on it. Nobody has said anything, but I have to ask the question because that's my role this evening. I'm with you for the journey. Whose idea was it, this t-shirt? Who was the brainchild behind the t-shirt? Because you guys are laughing, but I'm serious. I would like one. Do I have to cash out somebody to get one? What's the story behind the t-shirt? Please let me know.
I don't know who's going to speak on it, but I guess I'll go. They call me Dr. Socialite. I'm always the one snapping the pictures. I'm the historian of the group. That's how I like to just document our process. So I've been documenting our process, whether it was through videos or pictures. And just one weekend, we decided that we wanted shirts made with the phrase that we always say when we take pictures, which is doctors. And we made it possible.
That is awesome. And so, if you are out there, whether you are a historian, as Dr. Jasmine Shepherd is, whether you are a part of your cohort, whether your cohort is a group of two or a group of 50, and you guys have found your way to each other through different spaces of time and energy and universe, the universe has collided and allow you guys to pose for the gram, and now you're wearing t-shirts. You can take a page out of the dissertation of Dr. Jasmine Shepherd, and she can let you know that if you need to preserve your experience for all time, you need to get some t-shirts. That's about it. I'm thinking that's about it. So ladies, I see everybody has cute earrings and I love the accessories. Now I think beyond the t-shirt questions, it's time for me to dig to a really important question. I know whenever women come together, we don't always talk about work and school and our husbands and our children and our dogs and our cats. We need to get down to some important details. As you can see, I love bright colors. I don't know how you guys feel in the grand scheme of things, but what is in the left pocket in your purse? That little small little pocket on the left side of your purse, like what's in that pocket? I'm just curious. I asked a question about the t-shirt, so now I'd like to know what is in the left pocket, that little small little pocket that you really can't hold a lot. I know you guys live in New York, so maybe you got some tokens. Maybe you have a card for the expressway. I don't know. But what is in that little pocket, the left little side pocket in your purse? So, Dr. Delva, let's start it off, please, ma'am.
Well, first and foremost, there's a lot of pins. Like, I don't understand why I have so many pins, but I have a couple of pins in there. But I have like this, which I really love. And I carry it with me all the time. And it was actually given to me by Dr. Atticot. And it's a prayer box. And it says, "Blessed is she who believed that the Lord would fulfill his promises to her." Luke 1:45. And this literally goes in every bag that I take. I just take it with me and put it in my pocketbook. Wherever I'm going, it's there. Usually it goes in my bigger bag. So if I'm going to work, if I'm traveling, it's there with me. And I think it just speaks volumes. The message, it was so interesting at the time she gave it to me. It was a message that I truly needed. So this is what I keep in my bag. And I literally just looked over. I was like, let me look at my bag. What's in? And I picked it out. And this is it.
So since she mentioned you, Dr. Atticot, you're up. What's in your purse, ma'am? Something special. What's in the purse?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. This is going to sound really funny. I walk around with my little bottle of potpourri. Not even gonna lie. But in that little pocket in my purse, that's what's there. I'm just gonna be very honest. There are two
transparent.
Okay. I'm actually Roman Catholic, so I have a rosary in every bag. So my rosary is in the little pocket, and I don't go anywhere without my potpourri.
Okay. So we got the rosary on lock, and we got the potpourri. Okay, we got the prayer box, some potpourri, and and the rosary. I see Natalie Zadok. Dr. Zadok, ma'am, what's in your pocketbook, please, ma'am? What's in the purse?
Well, I also always have a little prayer book with me in every little bag I take, but this my daughter gave to me because I love shoes. And she always says you should always have your red bottoms with you. So this is my little keychain that reminds me of her. And everybody knows here, before going into any of this world of education, I graduated from FIT, and my dream was to be in the fashion world. So it's a little reminder of, a little passion of mine.
You're still in the fashion business, still fashionable. We see you. We see you.
Thank you.
With the pearl. I see you. I see you. Now I have to ask, Dr. Gribbins, you got cute earrings to match the lime green tassel. Yeah, so I need to know what, ma'am, is in the purse. What's in the pocketbook? Now, it may be a backpack because you got little ones. Changing tables, I don't know. But what's in the purse?
I'm not this coordinated, and we actually, it's interesting. We had a project about, which I think some of us were in the same group, about our wallet, and I do not like carrying anything with me. And we had to create a wallet, and I just didn't want to carry anything. And anybody that knows me, my purse is not reflective. Well, it could be reflective a little bit of my brain, a little all over the place. But in my little pocket, I'll say I have my ID that's quick to get into a building. Usually one of my cards that I can't find, I've misplaced, I've taken out of my pocket and just threw it in my bag. But of lately, thinking about that mindset, I do walk around with affirmation cards to either hand out, give out if someone's in need, but for also myself. And recently I found one at a restaurant. They had a little cup and picking out these affirmations from like a little stand. So I've been keeping those on me, but also giving them when I see somebody that needs it. And I know where those are at any given moment. But if you ask me for a charger, or if you ask me for where my keys are, and many people say I need an AirTag on me, it's not reflective of what's possible for what my bag should look like. So
That is good stuff. Good stuff. Now, bringing up the rear, the lady whose idea it was to bring the t-shirts to the conversation, I need to ask you, ma'am, what is in your purse? What's in the pocketbook?
There's a lot in my pocketbook. So I'm always thinking that I need to have everything in there in the event that something happens. I'm prepared to pull things out. But if I think to my little zip part, I definitely have a mechanical pencil. I love mechanical pencils. So I always have mechanical pencils. I also have my EpiPen because I do have an allergy, a severe allergy. So I carry my EpiPen. And the last thing that I have in that little zipper is an affirmation book. It's a tiny affirmation book that I turn to when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling great. I just flip to the date because it's by month and date. I'll flip to the date and then I'll read that affirmation. So those are the three things that are in the little zip area.
Now, I don't know if our audience heard, but I heard a lot about affirmations. I heard a lot about spiritual journey. I heard a lot about faith. And that to me speaks not only that you guys went to a university that is grounded and founded in faith, but also that you found each other and that your foundation is built on faith. Your foundation is built on sisterhood. Your foundation is also built on camaraderie and recognizing that at different seasons of the journey, sometimes you are the lifter and sometimes you are being lifted. I think that is a wonderful journey for us to go ahead and make certain that people around the world who are watching the doc chat recognize that doctoral studies requires us to be mindful of ourselves. It also reminds us to recognize the why. And why are we doing this thing? We want to understand something, hence we are researchers. But we're also women. We are also wives and daughters. We are mothers. Many of us have different multiple hats to wear in our professional spaces. We are entrepreneurs. We are spokespersons. We do a whole lot of stuff. But in the stuff, we also recognize the importance of being supported. Each of you mentioned the importance of self-care. You mentioned different seasons of life. And it is so important that persons who are in doctoral studies or persons who are considering doctoral studies be mindful that the journey is worth it, absolutely. But it is a journey. And those multiple steps, whether you are writing or editing or reading, or whether you are waiting for the feedback from professionals who are doing their just job, but oftentimes you are not happy with their response to what you have done. And so that leads me into what was a challenging experience that you experienced in the journey. I know each of you mentioned having some stuff happen with your families and even in your personal lives, but can you give some advice to someone who is probably facing just that? Because and to be fair, to be honest, to be clear and transparent, we are in the season of graduation. If you are on LinkedIn, if you are on TikTok and Instagram, everybody is posing for the gram. Whether it's from kindergarten graduation, doctoral graduations, it's prom season. This is that season. But we all know that life happens and life happens fast. And when you are a student, life can happen and you may not always have that positive graduation picture. You may be in that season where you have to do some work over. You got to repeat some stuff. And so, whether that has been a part of your journey or not, I still need you guys to dig deep and give some advice to somebody who may not have gotten the grade that they needed to have to get to the next class. Because we know courses are sequential. So, give me a little bit of advice. Dr. Gribbins, lead us off, please.
And it goes back to what I said earlier, but I think that pushing through is definitely a necessity. Pushing through it all, and I was thinking about my own process and the actual work of it, and where I struggled there, especially. And anybody on this call, I like the math classes, so I was pretty good with some of the statistics, and I think we count on each other for where our strengths are and where our weaknesses may be. But when I got to the editing process of our dissertation, and it got to having people read our work, critique our work, that part for me was that's where a lot of the frustration came, because you're hearing all this advice. And when I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh, I had to, at one point from my committee, I had to actually delete, or it was recommended that I delete pages of work that I had accomplished, and that went towards my page count, that went towards my research, that was so important to me. I was recommended for me to delete it, get rid of it. You don't need it. And that was a hard, what do you mean? I did this. But it was also a really important lesson, because at that point I knew I needed to step back, take a minute, which is, I think, the biggest advice to give anybody. Just always take that minute, step back, and then come back to it. And so what I actually did, based on the advice and leaning into those people that I knew had my best interest at hand, I knew nobody was there to, give me advice that wasn't going to help me. And I took what I was deleting and I put it into a different Word doc, and I saved it for a later time. And I knew I'd come back to it. I knew it was important to me. I knew the research I did and what I was saying was important to me. It just wasn't important right now. And it was important for me to learn not to hyper focus on those things that I felt I needed to, and to, in fact, let it go. It's okay. And you will come back to it, which also kind of gave me perspective into what my future could be and how I could potentially do more research. I could potentially come back to this and continue this work, that this is not just the only time I will be writing. I, in fact, enjoy research. And that was, for me, eye-opening, that I'm in this for a reason. My why is that I do enjoy doing this type of work. I didn't get all this far in my education to just stop now and never pick up a book or read a research article. So I think for anybody who's in the process or thinking about the process, do it, go through with it, continue to push through, but also know when to step back, take a breath, and it's okay. Give it up, leave it up, and see what's going to be happening next.
Thank you. That is so amazing, because again, everybody is not going to have a start to finish effortless experience. A lot of times people go through stuff. I, my own self, had to delete not just a few pages. Literally, I had to delete over 30 pages. So I just thought, like, oh my gosh, like, life is just not happy right now. But to your point, it is important to recognize that the editors, the stylists, those persons for whom APA is life and breath, that is their world, they oftentimes know best. Now, I am from the Caribbean region, and in the Bahamas, I wanted to tell my story from a Caribbean perspective, and my university said, well, no, you got to say it this way. But I found that one of the things for me, beyond deleting those pages, was also, as you said, to recognize that in research, while the story may be done with defense, there is always opportunities to continue the research later on down the journey. There's always a continuation. There's always a book. There's always a program. There's all kind of things. And I'm looking at the screen right now, and I'm seeing heads nodding. Dr. Natalie Zadok, if you would let us know exactly what you can offer somebody who perchance is not going to be smiling today, somebody who's maybe having some challenging thoughts. about the APA stylists and the whole research design situation, that maybe they aren't getting the kind of feedback that they thought they would have been getting, and maybe they are also deleting, maybe they are having to repeat a course or two, maybe they did not make that finish line, maybe they are inconclusive in their research. What can you offer them?
Definitely. I think one of the most pronounced things that happened within our first week of the seminar at Concordia is we had a professor who we all love very dearly, but one of his opening lines were, half of you sitting here in front of me are not going to make it to the end. And I remember getting off that Zoom and we were all chatting. I was like, what kind of professor says something like that? Like, what is that? It's supposed to, because we're teachers, we're educators. And, we never would take that route with our students. I would never open up an opening comment to a new group of students in my building and say, this is really going to be challenging. I'm not sure if all of you are going to, stick with it or finish or even be here at the end. So I think it was both, it was an interesting experience because I think it kind of, us being who we are as a group and our personalities, we're like, we're going to show him. No, we're going to finish this. So I think, even though some people might have taken that as a negative, we persevered. We took it as a real challenge. And it was like, I think always, everyone could correct me if I'm wrong. It was always kind of in the back of our heads. Like, we can't fall down. Like, we can't prove this statement right. We have to finish this. So I think that's one piece to it, is just to believe in yourself. And I think another part of it is taking away the idea of who you think you are when you enter a doctoral program, because a lot of people have this ideology of, I'm in a doctoral program, I'm supposed to know this, I'm not supposed to ask this. And I think that's the beauty of our group, is that I think we're humble individuals to begin with, but it's been a really humbling experience. And we didn't feel shy, embarrassed, or underachieved if we had to pick up the phone and I could say to Dr. Gribbins, I need help with the stats. And, everybody could kind of say what they needed help with. I think that's what the beauty of us. And I think a lot of people that are in this type of program are very afraid to show their true emotions, their true feelings with their peers, because they don't want to appear like, they need help. So I think that's a very big thing to look into, is not be, when you find your group or your people, your support system, to really be transparent, because that's really where you're going to find yourself. And you're really going to put yourself to the test of who's around you to really lift you up. But you have to be able to be transparent. And, Dr. Delva once said to me when I wrote something in, she said, lean in, and I don't forget that, and there was times where I'm not the type of person to lean in, because I've always had to self-achieve and I've always had to do it on my own. And the thought of even asking, I have people to ask, for help or support or a question. It didn't come to my head at first until, being a part of this group. And I said, okay, I'm safe with these ladies. I can tell them what I'm afraid of. I can tell them what I'm thinking, and nobody's going to judge me. So I think that if anybody can find this type of circle, it's the biggest gift that you can give to yourself.
Amazing. Listen, that says it all. I don't know if we need to continue on tonight, because that just has me wondering, like, oh, clutch your pearls, because it's so important to find your tribe, find people who are of like minds, who, as you mentioned, have different strengths. Dr. Gribbins, I love that you talked about your love of stats and ability to go ahead and make those numbers dance. That is one of my strengths also. And I also love the conversation about research. But there are areas of APA that I do not particularly care for. It could be APA 4 or APA 17. Okay, if you say so. Citations, I'm like, okay. But I think it's important for us to recognize that we all bring different strengths to the conversation. And then to be a part of a cohort is one thing. But to be a part of a collective is something totally different. Because we all, whether you are a doctoral graduate from 10 years ago, 30 years ago, or even yesterday, we are all members of a cohort. But you ladies are special. You are a part of a collective. You are not only wearing t-shirts that match. You are a cohort of persons who are not only brilliant, but you, by all standards, break all the rules. Because the universities want us to believe that we are in this journey for ourselves, because our names individually are on a certificate. But what you've done is proven that as women from different ethnicities, different worldviews, different backgrounds, different experiences when it comes to life experiences, you've definitely found a way to find common ground, and that common ground was in supporting each other. Dr. Delva, if you would, can you let us know exactly what advice or support can you lend to somebody who's not so happy today, who may have to repeat a course or two, who's not posing for the gram, who's not wearing the doctor t-shirt? What can you offer somebody who may not be having the best day when it comes to their doctoral journey or even their academic journey in other programs?
I think Dr. Zadok's response really resonated with me about this idea of being transparent with yourself, but also being vulnerable. For me, I realized that writing was not a strength of mine. And it sounds crazy going through a doctoral program and you have to do research and you have to write this dissertation. And it's like, why can't I get this done? And I had to come to the realization like, I need help and I need support. I tried to do it on my own. That chapter 2 literature review almost took me out. Like, I am done. I'm not doing this. I can't. I had every organizer, I had the breakdown, I did the notes. I just couldn't get it together. And I had to accept, especially being an overachiever, going through undergraduate, my graduate programs, I've always been the top of my class. And here I am in my doctoral program realizing that I need help and I had to get a tutor. Like, I had to come to that moment and realize you cannot do this on your own. It's okay. You need the support. So I had to go and get a tutor and learn about, the writing process and how to write research and to be able to take an outline that's given to you and be able to use that outline so that you can figure out how to structure your paper. And I was also upset that I had to pay for the tutor. So I'm like, now I got to pay for this person. But that was a huge point in my doctoral program. And if I didn't get to that moment and accept the fact that I needed support, I would have been stuck on chapter 2 for a really long time. So for my fellow future doctors, it's okay to need help. I think there's this pressure of being in a doctoral program. Oh, you're so smart. You have it all together. You know all the things. You're going to be a doctor. And it's like, no, there are areas that I still need to work on as a scholar and as a lifelong learner, and I'm still working. So going into a doctoral program doesn't necessarily mean you have it all together and you're the mathematician and you're the top-notch researcher and you're the expert writer. It doesn't mean that. It means you're passionate about a topic that you want the world to know about, that you want to collect data on. That's what it means. So it's okay to be able to come to a point and realize you might need outside support. You might need to lean in more on your cohort members, but you might also need a tutor. And that's something that I had to come to terms with. But it truly impacted my work. And today I can look back and accept that although it was a weakness of mine at that point, it made me a stronger researcher. And I learned tools that I can use after my doctoral program because I learned to be a better writer.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Because again, we're not all born doing any of this stuff. This from the very first word or the syllable of the abstract all the way until the final citation, we have to put it all together. I counter it almost to being a jigsaw puzzle, where imagine if you've lost the middle or the last piece under the couch and you are putting in pieces all together and you are putting it together and based upon the outside of the box what it should look like. In your mind, in theory, it's there, but something is missing. And oftentimes, to your point, Dr. Delva, we need to get support and help. Dr. Atticot, I'm not sure what your journey is like in terms of writing. Maybe you were the stylist and maybe you were that APA person. Maybe you were the expert researcher who had to jump into the conversation. But I need you to now to offer some advice, offer some support to somebody whose journey is not what they thought it would be today. Maybe they are not posing for the gram. They're not wearing a t-shirt. They did not defend successfully. Maybe it was inconclusive. We don't know what their experience is like, but we know everyone's journey does not end as well as ours has. And even if it will end that way in days, on weeks, or even months to come, we still know that today they are having a challenge. They are feeling some kind of way. They're not exactly happy with the outcome of the response from the editors. And so if you would, Dr. Atticot, let the audience know, those one or two persons who are feeling some kind of way, what can they do differently? What should they think? How should they feel? And how can they get over what they're experiencing today?
So I do echo everyone's sentiments. And Dr. Delva mentioned coming to that place where you allow yourself to become vulnerable. I'll give you an example. We all started together, but we did get to the finish line together, but not exactly. So two of us graduated in May, and the other three, we graduated in December. So my goal was to defend before the May graduation. So I would walk in the May graduation, only to find out at the very last minute that I wasn't giving my committee enough time to review my work. So that was a bummer for me. So I sort of had to just suck it up, deal with it, and figure out a plan. So with that being said, one thing that I would like to share: time can be your best friend or your worst enemy. It's important to plan wisely. It's important to set deadlines and stick to them. I remember one time, Dr. Shepard and I, we literally sat at the library all afternoon and we mapped out every single day. And to this day, that calendar is still on my phone. I haven't deleted it. So dissertation keeps popping up every single day. I have not deleted that alarm, telling me that this is the time that I should have been working on my dissertation. So it's important to also celebrate the small wins. We have this idea that the accomplishment is when we get to that finish line. But what about those moments when you finally submitted that chapter 4 and it's done, or you finally submitted that chapter 2 and your chair says, you know what, this is it, no more revisions, you're good to go. These are moments that we call each other, hey, you want to meet at Sugarberry? We're going to celebrate tonight. It was sent back and I have no revisions to make. So it's so important to celebrate those small wins. Know that, like I said, that I mentioned earlier, know that you will face challenges on this journey, but try to change the lens through which you view those challenges. Don't see them as obstacles, see them rather as experiences for your own refinement. One thing that I also held on to my why. So it's so important before you even begin this journey to ascertain your why and remember your why throughout this journey. So for me, my why was my 2 sons. My why was the Black and brown students that I serve. So the times when I felt like, man, I'm not even going to, walk in May, I have to wait till December. I remember my why and I'm like, but you know what? I'm going to get to that finish line and I'm going to start, I'm going to finish this journey that's going to set that foundation, for me to serve in my community. So it's so important to really hold on to your why and understand your why.
Yes, ma'am, because that why, not only does it fuel your academic journey, but oftentimes it fuels what's next.
Yeah.
So, ladies, I'm going to go to Dr. Shepard, but the next question is going to be a round robin one. I want to understand, what do you have going on next? So, think about it. Stay on mute, but think about it for a second. Dr. Shepard, we need you, ma'am, to let us know what kind of advice, if someone, whether you know the person or not, who's watching us and maybe their academic journey is not exactly what they would like it to be. Maybe they had to have their dissertation defense and then the final walk has been delayed. Maybe they did not get the outcome to their studies. The final review was just, you know what, go back and write some more or delete some more. Whatever is of what their experience is like, what can you offer them to help them smooth it out, help them to stay in the journey, stay in the fight, and recognize that they can be successful?
Yes, I would want to tell them to breathe and that it's going to be okay. I had to tell myself that throughout the journey, to breathe is going to be okay. Unlike some of my doctoral sisters, stats was not my area of strength at all. I despised the class, the numbers, the standard deviation, and null and void. SPS. I even blocked out. I think that part of my brain, I just blocked it out because stats is what really took me out. I didn't understand why I needed to do stats. I am a writer by heart. I enjoy writing. The APA was my thing. I could do it with my eyes closed. So I had to, like some of my doctoral sisters stated, I had to be vulnerable and I had to share with my sisters, I'm not doing well with stats. Who can help me with the stats? I had to take extra time out to get additional statistics books. I worked with colleagues on the statistics because that was not my area of weakness. And the part around, again, being vulnerable, for me, that's not something that comes natural. I'm always the one that's helping others. So I never know how to ask for help. So when I realized that the space was a safe space, I was able to lean in on my sisters to help me get through those statistics classes, which were very, very difficult for me. But throughout the course, I reminded myself to breathe is going to be okay. When I received that email that notified us to say that if you don't finish your dissertation on this date, then you can't walk in May, I was distraught. I had my timeline set, like Dr. Atticot shared. We mapped out what it was going to look like from January all the way to May. And when we received that email, that was just very heart-wrenching, and it made us very distraught. And when I realized that I wasn't going to meet the deadline that I had set, I started to have breakdowns, and I had to keep telling myself, breathe, it's going to be okay. You are still going to finish. You're still going to get to the finish line. It may not be when you want it, but it's going to be in the time that I'm supposed to get it, which was 6 months later. But I would definitely share with future doctoral folks to breathe throughout the way. Remind yourself that it's going to be okay, and lean in on your strengths, whether it's the qualitative part or the quantitative part, and find folks who can help you, whether it's getting a tutor like Dr. Delva mentioned, whether it's creating a bond with your classmates to figure out, okay, whose area is strong in this particular part of our studies and whose area is strong in this particular part, and just making sure that you breathe.
So persons all around the world, we just heard that it's important to breathe. We've heard how important it is to find your tribe, find persons who, even if you're from different ethnicities, different parts of the world, different academic, different professional perspectives, different family dynamics, it's important that you get together, find your tribe, and most of all, that you seek to get to the other side together. We are finally wrapping up our conversation this evening, and I want to make certain that everybody knows how to find each of you. Again, we are at the Doc Chat, but this is a safe space to share not only what you did academically and professionally, but also what else you got going on after the tassel, after that march, after the hood. What's next? Dr. Delva?
What was next for me after we're now on our 1-year anniversary of, graduating. I needed a break. It was so important to me. I felt like it was just never ending. And to finally get to that point, I was like, okay, I need a mental break. I think I'm really excited to see how my research is going to impact my line of work. My research was on the impact of training and development on teacher retention in urban schools. After the pandemic, education has changed. There's a lot of gaps, teacher shortages, the lack of professional development, especially in our urban schools. I'm just excited to put my work into action. Like, here are the things that I learned. Here is what the people are telling me, and here are the changes. Our doctorate, it was in innovation. So becoming an innovative leader and bringing about change in the spaces that we are constantly entering, being able to network with fellow doctors, being part of the doc chat has allowed us part of me to open up that I really didn't tend to interact with. Like my weakness is networking. Like I won't speak. I love, if it's about education, we'll talk. If I'm public speaking, I can do that. But to have those personal conversations and interact with others is something that, I tend to shy away from. So being a part of the doc chat and being able to hear other stories is truly inspiring, and it has allowed me to become more of a networker and tap into folks. What's next for me is I look forward to being part of platforms like this, sharing my stories to be inspiration to others, those who are coming along. I have, colleagues who's going through the doctoral program, and it brings me great joy to root for them, to motivate them. Like, hey, there is an ending. You're going to get there. And it's going to happen. So I'm just excited about, advocating, bringing about change in the spaces that I'm in, and helping others to get to the finish line, because I didn't think this was a goal that was achievable. Like, I thought getting a doctor was like, there's only about 4% of us. So to be able to be part of that 4% and to be able to push others to get there is something that I'm truly passionate about. I think everyone should do it. You could do it. Let's get these doctorate degrees.
Absolutely. Come on, ladies. There's space, right? There's space. Dr. Gribbins, same question, but of course, I got to let you guys know we're getting close on our time. So if you would let us know in a minute or so, what's next? Where can people find you, and what are you doing to expand the story? Keep the story going.
So I definitely needed that break. That was the first thing. I didn't realize how tired I was, and I just recently have felt like I'm caught up on resting. So I needed that at first. And now I am an aspiring principal, and I hope soon to move to that position. In the meantime, and I noticed one of my aspirations, it's a big goal, but it's coming, is to eventually open my own business, and it being a cafe. So in retrospect, thinking about others, that mental health and having that space as working moms, it is really hard to find a place, a quiet place, or a place that you can bring your children, especially after hours, or even to bond with your children. As a working mom, a lot of these programs or places have daytime hours. So I really want to bring some kind of cafe to life that has the nighttime hours. We found one cafe that was open till midnight, and it became our rock. So for me, I want to expand that even more. I hope to, and I have a lot of ideas behind it, but you'll see it, you'll hear about it. And of course, continue researching and rooting each other on. I would love to be someone's chair one day. I need to give back. So one day I'll be someone's chair.
Good for you. I can see it happening right now. And also save me a seat at the cafe.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Dr. Zadok, what do you have next? What's next? What's next? Where can people find you, and what's next?
Okay. That's the big question when you finish the program, and you say to yourself, what's now what? And I think we need an additional program to help us figure out what to do after the program. That's kind of what I was thinking, because we were always together in the cohort, and now we're kind of on our own, trying to figure our own individual paths. So a break was definitely needed. So I did take that break as well, several breaks, to kind of just, regroup. And I stepped into a new leadership role as a principal of a school with completely special education student population, which is a place I've always wanted to be in, because that's really where my interest in that was my topic, my dissertation topic. And I've always suffered from anxiety, and I stopped myself from traveling for very, very many years until I had this experience, and I felt like I was going to blow up, and I didn't care what plane someone put me on. So I forced myself to travel. And what I would like to do is create a program for students, possibly with special needs or that have anxiety, and put a curriculum together to do global travel opportunities with them, especially for the underserved who may not get that opportunity within the family structure dynamic that they live in. So that's really my overarching goal. I hope to get to that. It's a big lift, but that's where I'm headed. And I'm hoping
it's big, but it's doable. Oh my gosh, that is so cool to hear. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And
You're so welcome. Dr. Atticot, you are next. What's next? Where can people find you? What are you working on?
So now that I can breathe, and I did take a year to breathe and rest. So I'm actually a writer. a poet. So I am currently working on my second publication. My first book, Voices from a Space of Unlocation, I think I published it while we were doing our doctoral program. I think that was our very first year. So I'm looking forward to releasing a second book, hopefully sometime this year. I'm also working on a memoir, and I'm also working on a documentary that's going to be a collaboration with my best friend. So these are things that have always been on my bucket list. I sort of put them, on the back burner until I, got through this program. So now all of these things are still in the infant planning, quote unquote, infant planning stages. But these are some of the things that I'm doing. In terms of my professional life, I'm just waiting for clarity from God. I do have some really grandiose ideas, but I don't know that New York City Department of Education is ready for my grandiose ideas. So I'm sort of just waiting for God to lead me in that direction.
Well, I love that you're still relying on his presence, relying on his clarity to get you to the next step. That is amazing for us to hear. And it's a good reminder for all of us also.
Yeah.
Dr. Shepherd, by no means least, I know you are working. I saw you writing in the corner. I saw you leaning down and making notes in the margin, and the pencil still in your hand, that mechanical pencil from the inside pocket of your purse. I see that pencil in your hand. Let us know, what are you working on? Where can people find you, and what's next, and what's going on?
Sure. So, like my doctoral sisters, I took a break as well. And during the break, I was able to spend quality time with my friends and family. During the program, I was not able to spend as much time as I wanted with family and friends. So, I want to continue showing up. Now that I have the availability, I want to be able to show up for family and for friends. So, that is what I will be doing, as well as I want to finish my projects. So the book that I started years ago, maybe over 15 years ago, I want to get to it and actually finish it. I have the right tools, I have the right network, and the availability to do it. So I want to finish that project. I also want to finish the project of opening up my own daycare. Again, like I started, I have my LLC. I started up the planning for it, and then I stopped. So all the loose end projects that I have, I want to be able to close that up. And I also want to be able to use my research to provide support to school districts across New York, and maybe in the across the United States, pretty much, to support Black and brown children, specifically Black and brown boys. My boys were the why to my dissertation, which was pretty much the overall school to prison pipeline for Black boys. Like, why is that happening? So I want to be able to do partnerships with prisons eventually to figure out how we can stop that school to prison pipeline. So I hope to be able to start some of those projects and finish them within the next year.
I love that you are speaking about not just starting, but stopping. And I love that you're still taking notes, because it confirms for us that the doctoral journey is never over. Even once you've wearing the tassel, and the tassel was worth the hassle, even though you are hooded, even though you walk across the stage, the photographs are on Instagram and on TikTok, you are on the doc chat, even when you're wearing the t-shirt that says doctors. The journey continues, because we know that we are researchers. We are parents. We are daughters. We are women with a mission. We are women with passion. We are women who are lifelong learners. And if you are watching the doc chat, it means that you are also a lifelong learner, whether you are enrolled, considering enrollment, or currently just a person who believes in the power of thought, the power of exchanging ideas, the power of bringing people together, especially women. There is a proverb that says, when you educate a man, you educate the individual. But I believe, as the proverb says, when you educate a woman, you educate the world. And whether we are all from New York or from other parts of the United States, whether we hail from someplace else, the fact that we have completed our terminal education, that we are each doctoral graduates, means that we are not only a part of the 4.4% in this country, it means that we are a part of the world of women who are intent on making a change. I am a change agent in technology, but I know what it means that change is often mightily resisted by those who need it the most. The persons on this panel at the Doc Chat are women who believe in change. And they're not only believing in it and reading about it, they are researchers. They are doing the work. They are rolling up their sleeves every day as educators, and they are doing the work that many of us wonder, how does it happen? Well, this is how it happens. You must first do the work. You must first read and write and edit and read and write some more. You must breathe through the process. You must look for your tribe, your community, persons who are going to support you until the end. And most importantly, it is important that you finish what you start. It may not finish in one semester. You may not finish in 1 year. But as long as you are in the journey, as long as you're here for the conversation, it is imperative that you recognize that the journey is not for the faint of heart, but it is doable. So with all of us here at the Doc Chat, I want to say a huge thank you to the host, the founder, the host with the most, JT Turner, who is the doctor, JT, who is the founder, the brain trust, and the person who has put me in the seat for this evening. I am Dr. Michelle Simone Rencher. I have an amazing panel of guests this evening, and tonight I am honored to have served as the Doc Chat host. Beyond this, I want to wish you all the best. If you are in the journey of academic studies, remember, each of the persons in this panel this evening is a resource of yours. Reach out. We're all on LinkedIn. Reach out, ask a question, and most of all, reach out and encourage someone else. Have a great evening. Take care and come on back to the Doc Chat.